Okay, so today we're diving deep into this whole Trump-Zelenskyy thing.
Yeah.
Some pretty interesting stuff coming out of this meeting.
Yeah, this has the potential to be a pretty big deal. It's not just a diplomatic handshake gone wrong. This could actually reshape things between the US and Ukraine.
Yeah, and our sources are even suggesting that Russia might be able to take advantage of this whole situation.
Right. And what's interesting is the sources we've seen, they really present this meeting as a potential turning point, not just, a little blip on the radar. This could have some serious long-term consequences.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack here. And one thing that really jumped out at me was this whole apology thing. The U.S. seems to be really pushing for an apology from Zelenskyy.
Yeah.
Is this just like a power move? Or did somebody seriously mess up here?
Well, it could be both, right? It could be the U.S. trying to assert its dominance,
Yeah.
making it clear who's in charge. But some of the sources are suggesting that this might actually be a genuine misstep, one that could really damage the trust between the two countries. And then there's even this idea floating around that maybe the Trump administration is intentionally stalling things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we see this sometimes in these types of situations where one side might want to delay progress for strategic reasons.
Interesting. So it's like they're playing this high-stakes game of chess.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's say relations between the U.S. and Ukraine do start to cool off.
Right.
What would that actually look like? Because the sources are saying this is a real possibility.
Well, imagine Ukraine kind of left out in the cold with less support from its Western allies. That creates a vacuum, right? And who's going to fill that vacuum?
Probably Russia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, we saw what happened back in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. Some of the sources are worried that something similar could happen again. Russia could use this whole situation to justify further actions. And actually, there was this quote from a Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson saying they're closely monitoring the situation. I don't know about you, but that doesn't exactly fill me with confidence.
Not really.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's say things with the U.S. do go south. The sources suggest that Ukraine might start looking for new allies. Who are we talking about here?
Well, the obvious candidate would be the European Union. They already have strong economic ties. But some analysts are even suggesting that Ukraine might look further afield, maybe strengthen ties with China, for example.
Well, it's...
Yeah, it sounds a little out there, but, international relations are constantly in flux. It's all about shifting alliances and finding common ground where you can. So this whole incident could really force Ukraine to explore options they hadn't even considered before.
Right. It's like they're having to hedge their bets on the world stage.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about the international implications, but we can't forget about the potential impact on U.S. politics.
Right.
Because the sources are saying this could get pretty messy.
Oh, absolutely. This has the potential to become a major political football, just tossed back and forth between Republicans and Democrats. Remember the whole Iran nuclear deal and how divisive that was? This situation could be even worse. It could really deepen the partisan divide.
It's amazing how something happening on the other side of the world can have such a big impact on U.S. politics.
It really is.
Okay, so last question. What about potential U.S. responses? The sources mention things like reducing aid to Ukraine. What else is on the table here?
Well, the U.S. has a whole range of diplomatic tools at its disposal. Everything from public statements to behind-the-scenes pressure. Reducing aid is definitely one option. But there are also more subtle things they could do, like delaying arms sales or withholding support in international forums. It just goes to show that even seemingly minor actions can have significant consequences.
Right, so to kind of sum things up, this meeting could have some really far-reaching consequences. We're talking about a potential weakening of the U.S.-Ukraine relationship, a bolder Russia, a Ukraine that's forced to find new friends, and even more chaos in U.S. politics. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it is. But one thing that the sources do point out is that Zelenskyy could actually use this to his advantage. He could use this to forge a more independent path for Ukraine. Imagine a Ukraine that's less reliant on any one power, a Ukraine that's really charting its own course.
Yeah, that's a powerful image, a Ukraine standing on its own 2 feet.
It is.
Well, this has definitely given us a lot to think about.
It has. And it leaves us with a question for all of you listening. Could this incident, as messy as it is, ultimately lead to a more stable and independent Ukraine? Or will it simply weaken the Western alliance and embolden its adversaries? Only time will tell.